what's going on. Did you see what's going on? Obviously, you've seen what's going on in California. But the governor gave this creepy speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down. While it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance, like, I've been talking with these, with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We got some ideas, a speculator.
I mean, I've got questions here. I don't find you to be a truth teller, based on a long, long history of your...
Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just teamed up for a brutal takedown of Gavin Newsom that didn't spare a single drop of hair gel. Rogan came in with unfiltered disbelief and biting humor, ripping into Newsom's double standards and flashy, Hollywood-style leadership. Kelly followed with pinpoint accuracy, breaking down his track record like a seasoned attorney during a closing statement. From botched pandemic decisions to ideological confusion in schools, they painted Newsom as the poster boy for style over substance. If arrogance had a face, they just spotlighted it for the whole country to see.
I was talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties and the like. So we're already working with our legal teams to move those things forward, and we'll be presenting those in a matter of days, not just weeks.
The big smile on his face. Look at the little wiggle he does with his shoulders. Speculator, watch this. Talking to Josh. Look at this. Look at this little wiggle. He's excited about the possibilities of speculators coming in. And he's saying, we're move forward. We're going to move forward on that. These people lost their homes. A lot of those people don't even have fire insurance because the fire insurance pulled out.
You had no dignity. That's what I was missing. There was no dignity. It just looked like a man desperate for attention, and whenever DeSantis was scoring points on him, he would interrupt over and over to try to talk over the points as just that's like a middle school debate tactic, which is pathetic and not.
Joe Rogan leaned forward in his studio chair like a guy who just saw a UFO touchdown in his backyard, and the pilot stepped out dressed sharper than reality itself. Gavin Newsom. Just saying the name made Rogan shake his head with an expression that blended disbelief and adrenaline. No introduction was needed, just bringing up California's governor launched him into a full-blown rant about what he described as one of the most theatrical political figures of our time.
And to these illegals who are now getting Medicaid in California, thanks to him. Illegals. So, this guy's priorities are not with keeping people safe at all. He doesn't care about the crime, about the illegals, and obviously not about the fires, which after the fact, again, hey, sure, somebody let me know how that happened.
He kicked things off with the obvious, the hair. Rogan chuckled, not because it was genuinely funny, but because it was just too perfect to ignore. He said Newsom's hair looked like it was locked in place with heavy-duty gel and fueled by presidential dreams. He joked that if you dropped the governor in the middle of a hurricane, everything around him would be torn apart, except that hair, still flawless, like it had diplomatic immunity. The hairstyle wasn't just a fashion choice. It symbolized the man himself, polished, styled, unaffected by chaos, and completely disconnected from the real-world storm.
Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, being caught public without a mask, and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician. Just a stone-cold, narrative-driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and that's a human being.
Then came the pandemic. Rogan's tone shifted, now laced with the kind of anger that only hypocrisy can spark. He tore into Newsom's lockdown policies like a surgeon with a grudge. One moment, Newsom was pushing strict stay-at-home rules, shutting down businesses, closing schools, and canceling church gatherings. The next, he was caught dining maskless at a fancy restaurant, sipping wine with lobbyists while the rest of California was stuck eating cold leftovers over Zoom. Rogan described it like a dark, dystopian sketch comedy, the king feasting in his tower while the people are told to microwave their hope and wash their hands with their own tears.
We begin with California Governor Gavin Newsom, spent the weekend trying to avoid responsibility as the fires were still burning by dropping by the Pod Save America podcast for an attempt to clean up his own image.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answers. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. On my own team saying what happened. And I want to get the answers.
You're the governor.
He ridiculed the reasoning behind shutting down beaches and outdoor gyms, as if fresh air had suddenly become a biological threat. Rogan argued that Newsom seemed less focused on actual science and more fixated on appearances. If it looked like leadership, sounded like leadership, and got claps on Twitter, then it passed the Gavin test. Meanwhile, people were losing their jobs, kids were falling behind in school, and mental health was unraveling. But hey, at least Newsom had a picture-perfect backdrop for his press conferences.
No.
Gavin Newsom said that you should be posting this. We're going to make it illegal. I'm going to sign a law. And he said, Professor, suck on these nuts.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. Elon retweets altered Kamala Harris campaign. He's manipulating voices in an ad like this should be illegal. I'll be signing a bill in a matter of weeks to make sure it is. And then he says underneath, I checked with renowned world authority, Professor, suck on these nuts. And he said parody is legal in America.
Oh my God.
What a wild dude.
Wow.
What a wild dude. Because he's not scared of those folks.
Then Rogan dove into California's homelessness crisis. He shook his head like someone trying to decode a puzzle written by madmen. Tents, syringes, and human waste covered major cities like a grim parody of progress. And yet, Newsom kept insisting things were getting better. Rogan questioned how billions of dollars had been spent, but the streets still looked like a scene out of Mad Max, just with recycling bins. He argued it wasn't compassion that left people decaying on sidewalks. It was sheer incompetence disguised as empathy. And according to Rogan, Gavin Newsom was the star of the longest-running failure production in the country. He then pivoted to Newsom's environmental contradictions. The same guy preaching to America about clean energy was flying around the nation, showing up at climate conferences like he was emceeing the Eco-Oscars. Rogan said it was almost comical watching someone sound the alarm about rising sea levels while expanding beachfront estates and building policies on a foundation of fantasy.
Newsom was basically almost burned alive. The governor of California. Take a listen.
We went to one of the canyons on the fire. I'm sitting there feeling we're a quarter mile away. I'm not making this up. Video carried out. All of a sudden, we see an ember. It's the tree. Tree goes on fire. 100 seconds. God, if my witness may have been 90 seconds. The house is in flames. I have embers. Flames are taking it off my hair, and we're running back into the car. Winds are swirling around. Garbage cans were in the air, and we were getting the hell out of there.
Okay, why is he saying as God is my witness, and I'm not making this up before I tell the story? Truly,
He portrayed Newsom as a walking contradiction, constantly posing next to solar panels for photo ops while his own state dealt with rolling blackouts, severe droughts, and policies so baffling that even Tesla threw in the towel and relocated to Texas. And Rogan relished that part. He rattled off the list of companies fleeing California like it was a final attendance sheet. Tesla, Oracle, Hewlett-Packard, all gone. Rogan said it felt like watching all the smart kids leave the party while Gavin kept DJing at a prom nobody wanted to be at. He mocked Newsom for selling California as a utopia when, in reality, it had become a palm tree-lined cautionary tale. Then he turned his sights on taxes. Rogan said he couldn't wrap his head around how the state with the highest tax rates could still have some of the worst infrastructure. Potholes, blackouts, water limits. It was like paying for VIP access and getting shoved through the back alley. He joked that Californians were shelling out luxury-level money for a government that ran like a bargain app managed by liberal arts majors.
Talking to local leaders, seeing what's going on. You weren't getting straight answers. I was getting different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story.
So you decided the thing to do would be to go on Pod Save America to talk about it. Because in the end, it's all about you. This is another David Muir, folks. He is just as vain and worried about his image in the middle of this emergency as David Muir with his little fake fireman's jacket and clothes.
And just when it seemed like Rogan was finished, he dove straight into California's social policies. He slammed the education agendas, the rewriting of basic definitions, and the criminal justice experiments that basically turned shoplifting into a pastime. Rogan joked that it felt like the state was being run by a think tank of overhyped TikTok creators, with Gavin Newsom as their overly confident spokesperson. That smooth, polished tone of voice made him sound like he was auditioning to narrate a luxury car ad. Megyn Kelly added that Newsom didn't speak to the public, he talked down to them. Every word he uttered was soaked in self-satisfaction, like someone who hadn't pumped their own gas in 10 years. She said listening to him was like sitting through a motivational talk led by someone who believed catchy phrases were real solutions and smugness was a leadership skill. She broke down his obsession with image. Gavin, she said, wasn't so much a governor as he was a walking campaign poster. Every move, every speech, every gesture was crafted for the camera. The real issue, she argued, was that while Newsom had perfected the art of looking the part, he completely failed at delivering results. California wasn't thriving, it was barely holding on, in spite of him.
On X, I addressed Gavin Newsom personally. He follows me, so I tagged him. And I'm going to be honest, I begged him to please stop this, for all the reasons stated on our YouTube feed. And he didn't get back to me. But I think I was shooting at the wrong public official who followed.
She then shifted to his COVID record, but with a different angle. She said Newsom used the pandemic not to safeguard people, but to increase his power and control the story. He turned emergency rules into lifestyle restrictions, all while carving out loopholes for himself and his political friends. She described a state where repeat offenders roamed free, petty theft became official policy, and law enforcement was demonized by politicians who never had to face the neighborhoods they governed. Kelly argued Newsom's justice system didn't promote fairness. It fueled chaos. He wasn't fixing anything, he was tearing it apart. She dissected his stance on public safety, education, and his laughable housing proposals. Each part of her critique was like a case file, laid out with facts, accuracy, and a tone suggesting Gavin Newsom wouldn't survive 5 minutes under serious media scrutiny. She called him the media's golden boy, not because he was competent, but because he fit the right ideological narrative.